Nigel Farage says if the broadcaster doesn't get a grip, then many millions will start refusing to pay the BBC licence fee. The BBC sparked fury as it cut off Nigel Farage's speech as he weighed in on the impartiality scandal. He says if the broadcaster doesn't get a grip, then many millions will start refusing to pay the BBC licence fee. He said, "The BBC has been institutionally biased for decades." The 61-year-old was launching Reform UK's small business plan and was asked by journalists for his opinions on the BBC. Speaking about the broadcaster being biased, he referenced the coverage of issues like Europe, migration, net zero, climate, and Gaza in recent years. He also said, "I spoke to the president on Friday. He just said to me, 'Is this how you treat your best ally?' Quite a powerful comment, isn't it?" The BBC was plunged into chaos last night as its boss, Tim Davie, quit over the broadcaster's bias scandal. Davie, the corporation's Director General, told staff he had to take ultimate responsibility after the BBC was accused of doctoring a speech by Donald Trump. He was also asked who he thinks should replace Tim Davie following his resignation from the BBC, to which Nigel said, "Somebody with a history of turning around cultures." Nigel continued, "Then I think what you would see within the next couple of years are many, many millions just refusing, just not wanting to have the licence fee." One angry viewer reacted to his speech on X, saying, "BBC News on 2 just before 12 changeover, shrill newsreader not hiding her bias at all, well and cutting in and out of Farage's speech every time BBC bias is being discussed. Quite a look at PK News." Deborah Turnus, the CEO of News, also resigned last night following the scandal. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch MP reacted to the news and said, "It's right that Tim Davie and Deborah Turnus have finally taken responsibility and resigned from the BBC. But let's be honest, this has been a catalogue of serious failures that runs far deeper. The Prescott report exposed institutional bias that cannot be swept away with 2 resignations. Strong action must be taken on all the issues it raised. The culture at the BBC has not yet changed. BBC Arabic must be brought under urgent control." Former Home Secretary James cleverly added, "The BBC's problem was a failure to recognise its own bias. I raised this issue with senior BBC management on numerous occasions. Credulous reporting of Hamas propaganda as fact, selective editing of President Trump, not pulling the Bob Villain feed, the rebuke of Martine Croxall, etc. etc. They saw each mistake as being in isolation and couldn't or wouldn't see a wider pattern. I hope that this episode will trigger a broader look at bias, groupthink, and political fashion within the BBC by the BBC. I want the BBC to succeed. It's a powerful British brand, but it needs a proper kick up the A for that to happen. Perhaps this is it."